All right. Since I'm dealing with low tech, there's a part 2. This is going to be part 2. So, but it's just because I couldn't do like a screen where I could look at, so I had to go back and write the stuff down. But I mean, it's lunacy. If you look at, so it says, basically, as a U.S. citizen, your rights are, well, you were born free, and then you were enslaved in the system as a United States citizen. I tell people this all the time because the creator didn't say, hey, I'm going to design some people thingies and so they can pay taxes and do all of this stuff for their country and their government. And so it's a whole psyop, right? And we get to believe in certain types of levels, that someone could give us the right to exist. Someone could give us the right to make choices that are based on what is best for myself, for my property, for my children, for my animals, right? For my environment. And so remember that you are a U.S. citizen because of the straw man. Now, people get all bent out of shape, but the reason why legals get all of the money they get is because they come in as sovereigns. In their country, they're citizens, and so they are raked over the coals, and everything is taken away. In the U.S., they kind of make us believe like we do have some type of control, or someone has some type of control. But when the illegals come in, they're 100% sovereign beings. So they get all the money, okay? So it isn't a scam. You're the scam, okay? You're the scam because you're the one that believes what you believe. So I just wanted to talk about, it's like a delusion that I'm working on this case, right, of the stuff that I have and that I'm doing. And then meanwhile, I have to look at the rights so that I can put something together. Because the rights that I have as a sovereign God creation from the creator, and I don't know, I guess depending on how you look at it, I could have been enslaved by birth too, because, what if extraterrestrials spliced and spiced me? Or my family line when I was, brought here. So, there could be like a bigger slavery agenda. That I can't help. What I can help is the physical me in this time frame, at this point in time. That's what I can work on and what I have based. But I just want to talk about how asinine this is. I mean, freedom of expression. This is why so many people become down and out and starving artists. Because, it's the only way they can defy the man, right? And end up in communities and out of the system and not paying taxes and checked out. It's the easy way to do. Bear arms. Well, sometimes you need arms. But if we actually lived in a world where people were sovereign and we could live the life that we really want to live, good, bad, or ugly, natural selection or the selection would eliminate the negative, the bad and the ugly. They would eliminate themselves. You stop trying to do interventions on drug addicts and you just let them overdose. That gets rid of the problem. Not trying to be an asshole, but do you have a will to live or do you not have a will to live? And what kind of piss party are you playing? I mean, So bear arms, we may not need arms to bear. If in fact we didn't have to survive, we didn't have to like hold on. We didn't have to like protect what's mine, right? Which creates a whole other kind of mindset. Freedom of religion. Hey, great. Then why is it that religions like Mormonism and Catholicism and Islam, other religions produce violence and have committed more crimes in the name of God than other types of religions? So that's, something else. And why do I need a right, to pursue my relationship with the Creator in the way that I want to pursue my relationship? And why does an organization need to be established in order to govern the body of those peoples, depending on what religion you're founded in? Just questions I'm asking, right? That, occur to me. A fair trial. I'm pretty sure that no one I know has had a fair trial. So that's a fallacy. Right to vote. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, as a sovereign creation of God, I have the right to choose. To choose yes, to choose no, to choose go, to choose stop, to choose. I don't really need a right to vote. And it doesn't really seem like your right to vote really matters, to be honest. Yeah, I'm in the wait and see. Apply for federal jobs. You have a right to apply for federal jobs. Why can't you have the right to choose to do the job you want to do and be supported in that? Or maybe not a job at all. Maybe a desire, an intention to develop whatever. Develop yourself, and through developing yourself, you give back to the community and the world at large. And somehow you are supported in that. Run for office. Well, as far as I understand it, that I think that if you had any type of that you wanted to run for an office, first of all, we need to get rid of the oath of office, because the oath doesn't matter, and it puts you into a lot of the, secret society stuff. And if you look at it, cops use two types of badges. One is the Star of David, which some people are going to get. And then some is the Star of the Pentagon. So who are they working for? No brainer. So if you have an oath of office, then you obey to the signs and the symbols of that office. So do you really want the right to run for office? Do you really want a right that isn't really God-given right? Like God says, hey, Bridge, hey, there's a Senate position open, and why don't you go run for it? I might consider it. Maybe, probably not, but I think it's all kind of bullshit. And the legislature, when I dealt with the legislature in 2009 here in the state of Nevada, had to tell you that every assembly member, every legislature, and everyone except for 8 of us, 890 paid lobbyists, were criminals. So what do I think? I think we should have the right to abolish legislatures across the board and do more community enterprise, where the community comes together, you talk about your local stuff, about what's going on, and you make decisions together about how to proceed and how to deal with those issues. Because if you weren't working for money and paying your taxes, then you would actually have time to do the work that you really want to do and actually participate as a sovereign being with other sovereign beings on issues that are affecting your town. And then not report back to the state or the feds of what you're doing. Because, oh, hey, that's the right to assemble. Yeah. We like the right to assemble. Because we do it all the time as human beings. Animals do it. It's called herding. So, another gift from the Creator that doesn't need to be given by man. Search and seizure, the right to protection of search and seizure. Well, we know that is a complete and total lie. Crude and unusual punishment. Well, I can tell you that the straw man that's put on people, whether you understand the whole thing or not, and I'm just using that term because what I'm doing is close to that, but not exactly that. And I can tell you that that is a lifetime of misidentification, commingling of identities, and cruel and unusual punishment, because it abolished your mother's right to you and for you, and it abolished your rights of your entire life. So we know that's a fraud, more fraud. And then other rights. These are the ones that I found online that were just had to be so unbelievable, laughable, because what you get to do if you become a U.S. citizen. These are other rights. Support, defend your Constitution. If they were sovereign, God-given, creator rights, why would you need to defend them? They would just be natural, wouldn't they? Stay informed about your community. Participating in the democratic process. Oh, yeah. Because America is Rome, right? It's Senate-based, dominant Rome. Okay? We are the new Rome. It is not a democratic process. It's a two-party system, a two-Senate system. So that's bullshit. Oh my God. This one, like, respecting and obeying federal, state, and local laws. You mean the public policy that, as a sovereign person, does not apply to you in any way, shape, or form? I'm just saying. And what laws are those exactly? Because they're not defined, but you're supposed to obey them anyway. Rights to respect others. You have the right to respect others. That means it has to be enforced. You have to be enforced to respect others. Participation in community. Paying taxes honestly and on time. You've got to be kidding me. Serving on a jury. Oh yeah, let's serve, with criminals, and also being misinformed by the court so that we make bad decisions in the legal system. And oftentimes, many of the people are not guilty. Okay, yeah, there are some that are guilty, but yeah, if we went back to common law courts where it's you versus, a common law court, this is how easy it is, okay? It's an eye for an eye. Ecclesiastical law. So it's not natural law, but it is ecclesiastical law. And say you ran over my cow and killed it, and my cow had a value of $800, okay? Milking cow, probably more, because it could have had 20 years of milking, right? Which could be a huge amount of money. But we'll just say it was a man cow, and he was, close to about a year from going in and being slaughtered for whatever the value is. So we're just going to say he maybe had a value of $800, and he got killed, okay? And so we found out who it was. Well, I called that person into court, and I made the argument in a jury of my peers, which is my community, the people I live with in my town. People show up to hear it, okay? So if you weren't busy in your democratic process and paying taxes and working your federal jobs for your crapola health insurance that doesn't give you anything, it doesn't even come close to giving you anything related to health, you could actually participate in your community in a common law court. Now, I would argue bringing this person into court, they would come into court voluntarily, and we would argue the case. Now, if that person was found negligent, then they would, one, owe me the $800 so I could get a new cow or beef cow. Or they would have to, if they didn't have the money, they could replace the cow with something of equal value, which we would have to assess. Have an expert come out and make sure that their quality of cow that they're giving you is going to be equivalent if you're not an expert with cows. And then thirdly, if they can't afford the cow or they have no replacement cow, then they would work that cow off on your property for $800 worth of labor. Now, it makes law pretty easy, don't you think? Now, what happens if the person decides not to comply? They get ostracized from the community. It's like you get one-time chance to do the right thing. And if you don't do the right thing, you get ostracized. It means nobody does business with you. Nobody will communicate with you. Everyone will turn their backs on you because you're non-trustable. So it comes down to community peer pressure to do the right thing. And if you don't, you're not going to make it. So that's the simplicity of it. Okay. So serving on a jury in common law wouldn't happen. Because your community would come in. It would be one big community endeavor, would be your jury of your peers. To hear both sides. And you know what? This kind of stuff gets rid of slander. It gets rid of all of the issues that you have of gossip because your community was 100% involved in it. And everybody knows what the truth is. And nobody makes it up. And anybody that makes it up wasn't there and has no right to speak on it. Defending the country. Now, I've raised a lot of the men in my family served in the military. Mostly they didn't want to, but they did. And so I have a lot of views on that myself from lots of different conversations with family members and just how I was raised. And I don't think that you have the right to defend your country. Maybe it should be your country, if the country wants to be its own country, has the right to defend you as a producer, a participator in the economy of that country. So I think the tables could be turned. What are you going to do for me as a producer, as a citizen, a good citizen, as somebody who is constantly working within their community, who is constantly producing something of value, instead of a government that has all these jobs and none of them produce not one thing. So they need our money from what we produce. And think about this, like Facebook and a lot of these other social medias, how much money they generate off what you produce. That's the ultimate straw man here, folks. Everything that you say, that you do, how they slice and dice you from day one, through every possible level of monetary means. They make billions off of you and you get nothing. Okay, you get nothing. So the tables need to be turned. What are you going to offer me for my participation in producing something of value? Not, oh, you're going to give me a job for $8.25 an hour with a worthless US dollar. Come on, people. Anyway, I'm just like, I probably knew, moving into this kind of a case or whatever else with everything that I have, I just would be angry. Just so, because I've always been angry about a lot of this stuff, the more I dive, the more I find out, the more angrier, like, I really become. And sometimes I'm shocked. I'm shocked how I was, I don't know, generationalized into following the party line for some of my life. Not most of it, though. And it's cruel and unusual punishment. And think about this for a minute. Aren't the chemtrails cruel and unusual punishment? Isn't how the voting and our politics in the United States cruel and unusual punishment? Oh, what about the IRS? Oh, yeah. The IRS is cruel and unusual punishment. Law enforcement, there's been a lot of cruel and unusual punishment in regards to them as well. So if you do have that right, who's upholding it? No one. So you don't really have that right. It's kind of made up, right? It's like a made up thing that you believe, but isn't true at all. Not true. My late friend Jordan Maxwell used to tell me that the Constitution was not written for the citizens, that it was written for the elite. And benefit, probably of more control over the citizens. So, and take this into consideration with what you believe. Now, we know George Washington was a Freemason, okay? He was the first president of the United States. The only time you would have a president, a vice president, a treasurer, secretary, is if it was a business, a corporation, not a sovereign nation. Did you know that there were 7, which has been eradicated from history? There were 7 commanders and chiefs before George Washington. So we didn't need a president. And we weren't a corporation before that. So people want to know, when did the United States become a corporation? I think there's like 5 US corporations that are copy pasted, and most of them were filed in France. And I'm not sure still why France, but England got the monetary part of it. So France got to file our corporation. So they would ultimately own all of the citizens, probably physically. And then England got the taxation. So the IRS and all these things that you pay taxes to. So So do the math. It's been one big corrupt mother effer since then. And you out there think you're worshiping your Savior or your God, and I'm just putting it out there, but you are worshiping a corporation. You're worshiping something that forces you into so many multidimensional levels of enslavement with zero transparency. And yet, you still do nothing. Give yourself your own rights. Make up your own rights. Hey, as a sovereign being, starting today, make up your own constitution. Not what you expect, but what your personal standards are. Base it on that. What are your personal standards? What's important to you? Just do it. Just to see what happens. See what happens to your mind. See what happens to your emotions. See what unfolds. Write your own constitution governing you and your own rights. Write your own Bill of Rights. What would your Bill of Rights be if you could write them for yourself? What would you want the right to? I'd want the right to smoke a doobie in the morning and then smoke one at lunch and then probably smoke one at dinner time, because I really like my mind. I really like my mind when I smoke doobies. I don't like to get loaded and face plant. I like just a couple hits to kind of shift that perspective a little bit. Really kind of open up those sensories. Anyway, the cat's out of the bag. She's a pot smoker. No wonder there's been something wrong with her. I tried for years not to do it. Even cured myself of brain cancer and used no cannabis products back in the day. And I can tell you that cannabis is probably one of the best medicines there is. I love 50/50, 50 CBD and 50 THC, and all the pain in my body goes away, my mind clears, and like I'll just get out there and shovel for 10 hours because I'm just feeling so good growing food, and really helps me, and I think clears me. And I think, Kathy O'Brien said it all. When you're smoking pot, they can't predictively mind control you. It cannot work. All right, everybody, that's it. It's what I'm thinking about. It's what I'm moving towards. I'm scared, nervous, have anxiety. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I get it done? In the midst of it, my dog needs another big surgery. I have no idea how I'm going to pay for that. My car needs like major repairs, and a lot of it just makes me really emotional. And I think a lot about, people who have it like, I have smarts, I have intelligence, am well educated. I work my ass off, and I think about what happens to the people who don't have those skills. What's happened to all these teenagers that are living on the streets and that are homeless? I mean, anyway, I'm doing it for the kids because it has to stop. All right, everybody. Write your own constitution. Create your own Bill of Rights. And reach high. Reach high. All right, talk to you later. Bye.